Here we go, buddy. Hey, welcome to Loudmouth. My name's Dean. Joining me from Fort Wayne is Mr. Tom Ackman. I guess it's okay to call you Miss. Yeah, you've earned that right, haven't you, buddy?
I've been called worse.
Probably today, as a matter of fact, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago.
Hold on, I think I'm getting caught. No, it's just my wife. I'm used to that. Okay. Uh, Tom, what we're going to do tonight, buddy, I guess we're going to take a look at the NFL, the first weekend's behind us, take a look at how that went, and maybe take a look at the week ahead. Also, might touch on some of the baseball playoffs, who we think might be in, who might be out. And also, I thought we might touch on the top 25 in college football. So, Tom, appreciate you coming on board tonight. We are also not streaming right now to YouTube. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get your mug in here with mine, because I know you definitely have a face for YouTube, man.
For radio. that's why I worked in radio for a while. Took one look at me at a TV station going, why don't you check out the radio station?
Yeah,
I think they're hiring.
yeah, we're hiring in the voiceover department. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get that. Okay, buddy. First of all, I guess we should recap. Let's see, NFL Week One. Of course, it kicked off Thursday night. Packers. Which are you a Packers fan?
Yeah, my dad grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm a lifelong Packers fan. Then when the Colts moved to Indiana, kind of like, okay, I got one in the AFC and one in the NFC then. But yeah, my dad started that, so that was anytime you kept Packers win, it's good. You can beat Chicago, so that's better.
Well, for some reason I was just thinking, man, he's a Bears fan. I guess I'm just linking that to the Cubs for some reason, which makes absolutely no sense. But,
Yeah.
uh, but
Cubs are depressing now, so I'm trying to not think about them.
man, I'm telling you, that's yeah. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But anyway, okay. So the Packers beat the Bears, which I thought was an upset. Um,
Yeah. Well, considering the Bears won the division last year and they were looking good and stuff, and they're playing at home against the hated Packers, and I thought, okay, the Packers scored a touchdown, and nobody scored much in that game, 10-3, but the defense did a good enough job. And
yeah,
I
and
don't know what is the Bears. They have trouble playing the Packers.
boy, and the Bears do have the defense. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, okay. So we have the Vikings over the Falcons, which, as far as I know, nobody gives a shit about those two. Uh, I know I've upset somebody there. Bills squeaked by the Jets 17-16. Redskins fell to the Eagles, which was a pretty good game, 32-27. Boy, we'll get to the Colts and Chargers here in a minute. Uh, Cowboys, of course, put it on the Giants 35-17. It was one tie. I didn't catch this till last night when I was looking at some of this stuff. I didn't realize Lions and Cardinals tied.
Well, the Lions were beating them by about 15, 17 points or something in the third quarter, fourth quarter, and Arizona came back and tied, and it went to overtime, and nobody did anything. And
GOB. See, I have no idea. Now, Saints, of course, that was a hell of a game. Did you catch that Saints Texans game?
yeah, I was kind of tuning in and tuning out, and I thought, oh, the Saints are going to lose. And like, oh, heck, they won.
Here comes the breeze, man.
Yeah.
Of course, Chiefs.
He's like Brady. He's got to be getting close to 40 now. I think.
He is, yeah, yeah. They said the 40-year-old was giving the 20-year-old a lesson.
You know,
But
the old Purdue guy way back when.
exactly. And he's taking a beating, of course. Well, we won't get into that. That's politics again. Uh, but I'll tell you what, Deshaun, man, that kid, he's gonna be a star. I knew he was gonna be tough when he was beating Louisville up every year when he was at Clemson. But
Yeah.
okay, Chiefs and Jaguars. I don't know if you knew this or not. The Chiefs star wide receiver Tyreek Hill, he's out for the year.
Oh, yeah.
So that,
He's one of those guys that heard he got hurt, and it's like you never know if it's
yeah,
for the year or not. That's a tough thing. The first game of the year, they go, yeah, we won, pounded them pretty good. Well, our star players, well, you got one left.
yeah. And of course, I don't wish injuries on anybody, but with that being said, I hope the guy gets well. But hey, so be it. It helps us.
Yeah. I
Titans.
saw that when Cleveland lost to Tennessee, and last year they had the year before, the last couple of years, or 2 years before and 3 years before, they'd won like one game. And last year they won like 6 or 7, so everybody had high hopes this year, and one got some free agents and Odell Beckham Jr. and they lose 43-13 at home.
Yeah, what is that?
That's why I
What
don't
is
bet
that
on
all
pro
about,
football.
Tom?
Huh?
What is that all about? I mean, is it management? I mean, they got some players.
Yeah, I mean, last year no one expected anything of them, and they had a rookie quarterback and stuff, and so they went out and got a big name receiver. Speaking of which, that Odell Beckham Jr., they said after the game he was playing with like $100,000 watch on when he was playing, which I don't,
And why do you want to make that public?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because he's going to keep wearing it. They kind of questioned him. The NFL did after the game, but he's going to keep wearing it. It's like, you're playing on the other team. Think I'm going to hit my helmet on his wrist. I haven't busted a $200,000 watch in a while.
Yeah, that's worth a 15-yarder. Okay, excuse me. Moving on. Let's see here. We have the Ravens, which destroyed. Is Miami that bad? I mean,
yeah, I know. They got rid of a few people. I think everybody keeps thinking they're tanking now because they want to get that quarterback from Alabama or something, but they got rid of a couple players just before the start of the game that were starters and stuff, and while they could trying to thin the herd or whatever, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. Of course, the Rams, the Panthers. That was a good game. 30-27.
Yeah.
Boy, 49ers. Let's see, down the Buccaneers. 31-17. Patriots pounded the Steelers. I didn't see any of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I was flipping around Sunday night, and I thought, well, maybe Pittsburgh will, New England's sort of like the Yankees or Alabama in football or some Duke in basketball. Unless you're a fan of theirs, you want them to lose because nobody likes New England. And he thought maybe they'll give them a good game, and it was over before, by the time I turned it on, it's like, well, enough of that.
Yeah,
Brady's just like Jordan. If you don't like him, you just think, God, retire already.
Oh, I know.
And he just keeps going on.
and
oh my God.
Of course, it's like, you try to bypass Brady to get to Belichick, but, my boss, he is a big Pittsburgh fan. It's like, man, what the heck is wrong with, and of course, he's a throwback like I was. I used to be a big Oakland Raiders fan back in the day. But, the Steelers will be there at the end. They always are. Raiders, Broncos, I thought that was a little interesting. Not enough to keep me up all night. Oh, okay, of course, in my Bengals, shit, man, they had that game won. Of course, they're again.
Yeah, that was one of those games where I was watching, sort of looking at the score, thinking, "Wow, they're going to beat Seattle. That's a good win for them on the road." And it wasn't. It was all the way to the point where it wasn't.
They just don't know how to win. Well, Andy Dalton, and I think he's a decent quarterback, but he's too short, man. He gets everything knocked back. But there again, and this is something I wanted to discuss. What do you think about these new rule changes? Or are you even up on any of them? I mean, go ahead.
I know that they had the teams that won where they're going to look at pass interference, or they can do sort of a replay, but because of what happened in the playoffs last year to the whoever it was playing New Orleans, I guess, or
yes,
something. But
yeah.
I don't know. They're going to keep changing it until you don't recognize it anymore, and all in the sake of trying to make things better or safer or whatever it is. But
well, and I sort of get that, but the point I'm going to make here is, first of all, the Bengals game. The game ended on a controversial, which every Bengals game is on a controversial play, but Dalton's arm, they said he fumbled the ball. And I mean, and of course I'm biased, but I looked at it, and even I think the big official in New York, whoever that guy is, but anyway, I can't recall his name. He even said it looked like to him the arm was definitely going forward. And if they're not going to get the shit right, why don't because they're seeing the same thing we're seeing, and probably even better angles. But
well, that's the thing is sometimes you see the replay and the announcers and their little official in the booth or back in New York, wherever everybody's watching, like, oh yeah, that's a fumble. I was like, no, after the review, it's not a fumble. It's like, what are you guys looking at that? Because that's the whole point of having it is to get it right. If you have a replay that clearly shows something and you still can't get it right, then why even have it? Then what's the point of all that?
Well, I almost liken it to the. Of course, I'm a big Indiana Pacers fan. And going back to Reggie Miller's era, when of course they, the big us with the New York Knicks and the Ewing, and I'll never forget, we were on our way to the finals, and remember the call they called on Antonio Dale Davis won on the 3-pointer Larry Johnson took at the buzzer, and of course he got a 4-point play. He didn't even touch the guy.
No, that's the worst referees in basketball. and I'm counting like Pee-wee, fourth grade, whatever it is, are in the NBA. Because the players are so talented, quick, fast, that they don't see half of what they think they see. I remember all the time that Jordan would go to the hoop and they'd say, "Oh, it was a foul. You know, he made the basket foul." You watch a replay and think nobody touched him. Well, he cut real fast and they didn't catch it, but there was a guy up there with him, so they assumed he must have done it. And NBA refs are just so much of the time you watch the replay and you think, "What are you watching?" Or I don't know, it looked like he might have hit him or.
Well, there was a lot of controversy after that. Of course, a lot of people were saying, "Well, hey, let's be honest. They want New York, and I believe it was the Lakers at the time in the final. They don't want a small penny ass Indiana team in there because just look at the ratings." With that being said, and I listened to it. I didn't buy into it because if I did, I don't think I could keep watching. But boy, you do wonder sometimes how some of this.
That one referee in the NBA got in trouble because he was throwing games or betting on games and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And they looked at some of those games and he made some controversial or shady calls. And you think, well, he got caught. How many of them done it and didn't get caught?
Yeah, and of course he swore up and down it didn't sway any games one way or the other. Just kept score. Yeah, and there again, who knows? Yeah, he actually ended up doing it. I think about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But okay, so what I wanted to talk about, I wanted to mention, of course, the end of the Bengals game, which I didn't agree with, and also the thing that really got my attention was in the preseason. Of course, I was watching the Bengals game, and they scored a touchdown. Well, they were reviewing it to make sure he was in bounds or across the line or whatever. Well, while watching it, they detected a pick play that got the receiver open that they missed.
Yeah.
So they went back, took the touchdown away, and penalized the Bengals 15 yards.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what they're doing now. I mean,
Well, it's like in golf when those idiots at home, those little nitwits, call in and go, "Hey, that guy just touched a branch somewhere. That's a stroke penalty," and so they go take a stroke off the guy. And it's like, if you didn't call it or see it at the time, you can't call it later. I mean, your replay is to look at the touchdown. It's not to look at. I mean, you can always look in the back and think, "Oh, that one player on the sidelines was stepping across the step line, the end line or something." It's like, and that's not what you're calling for the replay. You're calling to see if the touchdown's scored or not. You can't. If you're going to do that, then just on every play, stop and watch it from every angle and say, "Oh, look at that. That lineman was holding right there. Okay, that touchdown's coming back." But, I mean, you can't pick and choose. Either you do it all the time or you don't do it any of the time.
well, I guess they're going to be doing it all the time now, and I just think it really takes away from the game. And there again, of course, so the other night I'm watching, and see, I don't know if you're like me, I do go in and out of these games because I can't
Yeah.
sit and watch teams I really don't care about all night. I'm not that big a sports junkie. But anyway, so I'm watching the Saints game, and near the end of the first half, I don't know if you've seen that or not. They're in the, of course, hurry up offense, and Drees gets the playoff, and he throws to the sideline, and then, of course, there's the question. I could be getting my games mixed up now, but I think there was a question about the sideline marker, if it was a first down or not. Well, I don't even think at this point in time that the Saints care, but they had to replay it and review it, and then they had to do a 10-second runoff.
Yeah.
And so that took them from 26 seconds left in the first half to 16 seconds. Well, they did, complete a little pass play and got a field goal, and of course, you know how the game ended up turning out in the long run. So I guess there was just reserves. And did you see the block kick on the Texan they called, or on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there again, a rule is a rule is a rule. So, but anyway, the only other one I wanted to talk about was the Oakland game. I don't know if you've seen. Now, who is the quarterback? I'm trying to think who in Oakland was playing now. Let's see here. They were playing the Broncos.
Flacco or the other one?
Yeah, Falco, whatever. Rock me, Armadeus. Me and you know what that means anyway. By the way, I'm going to get Jigsaw on here sky high. We'll just blow this thing all hell sky high.
I was a friend of mine. I was over at his house. We were watching a movie or something a couple weekends ago, and he was playing some best of the 80s or something like that on there. And Sky High by Jigsaw came on. I fell off the couch.
Great song.
So that's a classic. You don't hear it enough or too much.
You just blew it all sky high. Yeah, don't worry, folks. I'm not going to sing. But anyway, getting back to the game. So John Gruden questions a fumble, whether it was caused by the ground. And there was, without a doubt, an apparent face mask. and they didn't. They did nothing about it. So
Yeah.
I'm totally confused. I mean, I don't. Maybe that was preseason. Somebody out there could maybe correct me. I don't know if they were just that was the rule they were testing in preseason or not going to use it in regular season. I don't know, but it's like there definitely was a face mask, and if they're
Well,
going to,
that's what I don't know how they can call that sometimes because there's so many times you look at it like, oh, there's a guy got a handful of jersey right there, as the running back's going past him, and they don't call it back, or maybe they just tried that in the preseason to see if it'll work or not. But it's just it's just kind of like, okay, if you're gonna
yeah, I thought
you're gonna let that go, then let it go for everybody. You can't call it some of the time or.
Well, I was hoping you might know for sure. I'm not 100% sure if that was just a preseason thing or not. I don't know if they do that in the NFL or not, but maybe they do. Okay. Oh, real quick, I thought this was interesting. Of course, you live in a different part of the state than I do, but and you'll be glad to know some things don't change in Southern Indiana. But I noticed something on the Colts homepage that if they sack a quarterback on the opposing team, it's just a simple McDonald's thing. If you the next day if you buy a Big Mac, you get one free. Well, I was looking at all the places that's available through the state, and of course, it's not available here in Madison or Hanover.
Can't spare an extra burger, buy one, get one.
Sorry, sir, your coupon's expired, man. And actually, we watched the replay here, and it wasn't a sack anyway. So there was a face mask, but not a sack.
Looks like it turns out you owe us for an extra Big Mac. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I'm sitting there going, see now to take $3.50 to drive, maybe just see more. But I would get a Big Mac. What is a Big Mac? About $4 now?
Yeah, something like that.
Because I was one of those guys that when I was growing up, and I'm sure you heard this too all the time. Of course, we're up throwback years again. It's like, now make sure, Dean, and eat everything on your plate, man. You'll grow up and be big and strong. Well, they got the big part right. I'm not real damn strong.
Yeah, so my wife and I watch the news, and they'll say, "Oh, this guy was riding his bike, or he was jogging, or something like that, and he, dropped dead, or something like." See, honey, that's why I don't jog.
Exactly.
Extending my life just by avoiding things like that.
I remember talking to my surgeon prior to my knee replacement. He said, Dean, man, you need to, try to get some weight off once you get this knee taken care of. You need to go buy a bike. And of course, when I said, Doc, I can't afford a Harley. He didn't seem to think.
When you pedal.
Yeah, he didn't seem to think that was real funny. And of course, he said it's 80% or 90% of what you eat. And of course, we got in a real argument then. But that's what they say, man. And I don't get that. I don't know.
Now you're not going to mention the Colts game. Why? What's his face? Who's that kicker that Vinatieri doesn't need to retire?
I was trying to stay away from that.
I was watching that, kept thinking, okay, an extra point. Okay, he's rusty, and he's 80 years old or whatever he is, and then he started missing field goals. I'm like, okay, there's 7 points, and we ended up, tied at the end of the game or whatever. And I was just, just think, okay, now is this a trend or is that just the rust from the first game? But losing your star quarterback a week or two before the season and playing that good on the road against the playoff team, and then you lose because Grandpa can't get it through the uprights. It's
and Vinatieri is, I mean, his record speaks for itself. I told my son lives and dies by the Colts. I mean, that's what he looks for all year. He's not a baseball fan. Basketball, he can take and leave. Pacers he likes, but he lives for the Colts. And, of course, I was watching the Bengals game, and I kept going, man, come in here and check this out. It's like, Dad, your Bengals suck. They're going to lose. They're like a team trying to run out the clock and just hold on. He said they'll lose. And, of course, and it makes it because I'm probably leaning a little more to the Bengals than I do the Colts, even though I love the Indianapolis Colts as well. But with all that being said and done, he kept coming to Vinatieri's defense, and I said, son, last year at the end of the season, he was starting to miss some stuff. And I mean, the guy's he's got a heck of a career, and he's had a heck of a career. I look for Tom if he comes back and has a decent, hopefully he will, a couple kicks in the next game. I look for him to possibly retire. I just don't think he wants to go out on this note, but
it's going to get to the point where
he needs to go.
He can straighten it all out, and he's good to go, or this is going to be the whole season, and then all you got to do is cost yourself a the team a few more games before somebody goes, okay, we'll retire your number and do all those nice things, but you got to stop. We got to find somebody.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I don't know with Luck retiring. I don't know. The Colts maybe they think they're going to go somewhere this year. Or, I
well,
don't know.
I don't. I thought they might make the playoffs. I don't know. I'm so confused on the Colts right now. And I think the fans are really. I think all the press are being a little tough on the Indianapolis fans a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the whole thing was it was just you think okay if he's going to retire you can respect anybody for that because you see so many football players who retire and they don't know their kids' names, they can't walk, all that kind of stuff because they stuck around too long, played too much of the time with bad symptoms of head injuries and stuff like that. So you respect him for doing that, but I mean waiting for 2 weeks before the season to start after the draft, after everything else, you think we can't do anything now. We're just, he can try to sign some old timer off a list somewhere, and so he shows up in the last preseason game after everybody just found out that he retired, and these are people who spend a lot of money on season tickets, thinking we got a playoff team with a all-pro quarterback, and now we got Jacoby Brissett or whatever his name is, and and people were frustrated and they booed him, and and everybody says the same thing. Oh, he was courageous, and those stupid people in Indianapolis booed him. It's like, well, it's like any girl breaking up with you. You're going to be a little pissy about it for a while before you get over it. You just think, you expect me to be real happy and everything right off the bat. That's probably not going to happen. But
Well, what amazed me about the the whole thing was, evidently the coach. I don't know. I think the coach knew for about a week, and Jim Irsay, I guess, knew for a couple of weeks. Of course, there again, he's probably trying to look at ticket sales. Who knows? But and of course, nobody in the press seemed to know. They know that Russia's over here colluding or Trump's colluding every day. They know all that. But so, I mean, it was a pretty major story. I just thought it really sucked the way the fans found out. And
oh yeah, I mean,
know,
it was just like some rumor. That you find out that the Kardashians are sleeping with some other whoever they hang out with or something. It's like, oh, who cares,
yeah, we can grab that one. Yeah,
huh?
I said, yeah, we can handle that one pretty good. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's just that because the thing is, if you work at whatever job you have, you work at it, people like you at the hospital, whatever, and you say, you know what, I'm just not feeling this anymore. I'm going to quit. There's people there that'll miss you, but I mean, there's a limited number of people that affects. When you're a quarterback for a team, you got a whole city, you got fans all around the country that live and breathe by what you do and all this other kind of stuff, just out of the blue to be like, he had a little calf problem, and the next thing you know, it was, well, it might be a high ankle sprain, and then about a week later, I'm retired. And it's like, whoa, you went from wildly optimistic about the season to, oh, crap, I guess we're playing for a draft pick. And that's a good punch in the gut to give somebody, all these fans that bought season tickets and luck jerseys and spent all that money, and it's, yeah, I'm not feeling it anymore. See you, bye.
Well, it will be interesting, and I told my son, I said, I do think they'll bring him back mid-season and give him a night, and I imagine the fans will, do probably the right thing, but I'm telling you, man, it's sour. It is really sour to me right now, and the press can kiss my ass because I think it's really wrong for them to do what they're doing. I'd like to know what Pat McAfee's take is on it. I haven't listened to his podcast, but it's just, the fans always get the jerk,
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I always loved about Larry Bird. I mean, he coached 1 year for the Pacers, and he virtually said, guys, I can't do it anymore. He said, I can't coach, no disrespect. He said, but I can't coach for guys that are more worried about how their shorts look on the floor than how they're playing.
Yeah.
He said, and I tried to tell these guys, there's people up in the crowd every night that might come one time in their lifetime to watch you and spend their money. And I was one of those idiots one night. And, it's not a cheap ticket.
No.
We used to be all decent when we were back, in the press a little bit. It helped. But, yeah, when you go out and buy that stuff on your own, it's not cheap. Yeah, and I went and watched the Pacers get blown out by 30 points, They just didn't give a damn. And I get it on their end, too. I mean, I know it's repetitive and it's the same thing, but they make a pretty good buck for what they do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's...
But, I don't know. Okay, Tom, real quick. Week 2, does anything jump out at you? I could run down the whole schedule. Let's see. Bengals have the 49ers. It's at home. Who knows? That's probably a pick me game. Let's see. The Colts, who do we have? We have the Titans. We're at Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
We're on 2.
They didn't play bad on the road the other day. Tennessee though, they seem to lately have the Colts number.
Well,
You know.
Tennessee has been on the rise. Yeah, and real quick before I get away from the Colts game in San Diego, there's another rule in the NFL that totally 120% just sucks to me, and that's overtime rules.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
just
you go down there. I mean, they changed it a few years back. If you go down and kick a field goal, they get another shot at it. But if you're going to do it like that, do it the way colleges do it.
exactly.
Both of you get a shot at it from a 30, 35, whatever it is, and see what you can do. I mean, at least then you got something here. You get, first play, somebody throws a long pass. It's like, okay, that was it. That was overtime. We didn't get a shot at it. Well, should have had a better defense, I suppose. But, yeah, somebody else said that on Facebook after that happened. Like, why don't they do it like colleges?
Well, yeah,
At
it's.
least you
I
get
mean,
a shot at it.
because what is the statistics? It's whoever wins a coin toss most of the time wins the game. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's see. Where your Packers at? Let's see. You have the Vikings.
At least they're at home, but they used to be unbeatable at home, and lately they've been losing a lot. And Vikings won the first week too, but Aaron Rodgers wasn't impressive against the Bears. Bears got a good defense, so you can't.
They
get
sure
mad.
do.
So,
They sure do.
So they were in his face all day, kind of put together enough for a couple drives and got a field goal and a touchdown out of it, and tried to make it stick, and it did.
The Cardinals at Ravens might be a decent game. Let's see.
I lose track. It's like back in the day, back when I was younger, wore younger man's clothes, as they say. Like with any sports team, I could tell you the head coach, star player, anymore. You could ask me half the head coaches in the NFL, I couldn't tell you.
Oh, I couldn't either.
You say, Pittsburgh, I don't know, was it that what was that guy that went to all the Super Bowls? Or somebody like that. Oakland, it's still John Madden, or is he retired?
He's still got.
There's a few high-profile ones, but so many of them, it's just like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think John Madden's a coach of EA Sports or something. EA Sports, it's in the game. Yeah.
It's just,
but you're right.
It's just like you look at them like Miami. Who's their coach? I couldn't tell you. The Packers, they got a new one. I think LaFleur is his name, but like Detroit or the Bengals. The Bengals, they still have that one guy, that Marvin Jones. They finally get rid of him.
Marvin Lewis, actually, but
Lewis,
no, they got a 36-year-old guy, and I can't even tell you his name. Second youngest. In fact, he was the offensive coordinator, I think, for Kansas City last year. But Flores is a coach of Green Bay. Did you say?
Yeah, LaFleur. He used to be with, I think, Tennessee. I think offensive coordinator.
Oh, I was thinking
like
Tom Flores. Yeah, I was thinking another decade. I sort of slipped back. Okay, let's see here. Okay, well, good enough. Well, yeah, let's see. That's enough on football. What do you think on pro anyway? Tom, college football. I'm not a big college football fan, but I imagine are you Notre Dame guy or?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things. I don't know why. I don't know where it started or when it did, but it's I've always been a Notre Dame fan, which means half people. Well, probably more than half people hate Notre Dame. It's sort of like Alabama, that they're cheering for their team, and then whoever beats Notre Dame. But they've had a couple years, last year and a few years back, where they're undefeated, and then they go to the playoffs, and they just think, and you just think, well, then maybe it's better not to go. But finally went to Notre Dame one time a few years back, and actually saw them there in Notre Dame in South Bend there. So that was a bucket list item I scratched off.
Yeah,
I went earlier in the year when they were playing Rice or some little school, so I knew they'd probably beat the crap out of them.
That is one big place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gee.
Yeah, that's something else. But they had, that's the only place where we walked in, our seats were like number 13 and 14. We were at the end of walked up to our section. They said, no, you got to go to the other end, the usher said. I said, okay, went to the other end. They said, no, we got one, and the other end had like 8 on it. There's like 20 seats here. It's like, where the hell 13 and 14 right in the middle? It's like,
gee.
Okay, then who designed this? Who numbered the seats? Some guy half drunk walking around.
I think his name was Rudy. But he was a hell of a football player.
uh,
You know, yeah. Of course, I tell everybody every time I go to like see the Pacers or the Rays, I said I just one time would like to walk up to an usher and him not go, look at my ticket. Yeah, man, you need to keep going up. You know,
we did
nosebleed.
that at Notre Dame about dying. 'Cause, I'm not a triathlete or anything. And we got there, and so where's these tickets? Oh, you got to go up these stairs. So we walked up about 10, 15 stairs. There's a little platform there. Turned the corner, went about 10 or 15 more, and it's like, okay, I'm looking for the guy with the oxygen tent or the EMTs or somebody, and I show it to another guy, and he said, nope, you're going up even more. And there are 15 more stairs, and 15 more stairs. I got at the top, and I said, I think I see Jesus or something, because I'm not going to last much longer. But
The only time I was there, and I shouldn't tell this, well, it wasn't me. I was just with the guy, but yeah, we were so far up. We took a pack of Oreos. We had a pack of Oreos. We were throwing Oreos over the railing, and by the time it hit the ground, it was like 3 blocks away. It's like,
you walk into your car after they're thinking that one of the Oreos just hit the ground.
picked one up back around 10 miles out of South Bend. Yeah. But, of course, I went just to see Mayor Pete myself. Oh, there I go, leaning over into politics. I'm sorry. Anyway, okay. Notre Dame, by the way, go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say Notre Dame did move up a spot this week. They moved up one, so they're ranked seventh.
Yeah, that was a tough game. Louisville's not bad. They were horrible. They were 2-10 last year, but they were playing at home, and they're a lot better this year. And last year, they kind of tell the announcers at the Notre Dame game said that last year Louisville just kind of quit. They kind of thought they were going to be a contender and lost 3 or 4 games early on, and after that, was kind of like, all right, let's just get this over with. But they almost won. They were halfway.
Well,
decent,
they shouldn't have brought what's his name back anyway when they ran him out of town the first time. But I can't think of his name. He went to Atlanta and then come back to Louisville.
no.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I was really surprised by Louisville. But man, that stadium they have is absolutely beautiful, and I just don't think there's the fan support to fill that thing. Even though they did a pretty good job.
Years ago, they had that. Who's that guy that's with Ravens now?
They had Lamar Jackson and Bridgewater play too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's trouble when you get a school their size, where they bleed basketball, that you're trying to convince people to get just as excited about football, and people in Louisville are like, yeah, that's great and all. When's basketball start?
Yeah, and of course they've been on top. I mean, their baseball team is no slouch either. But you're right. Yeah, it's all about basketball, and I'm telling you what, I'm pumped for that, man. Because Max,
like trying to get the IU fans excited about football. Every year they're always undefeated. They play a couple easy games early and beat Ball State and beat somebody else. And they start playing with the adults like Ohio State or Michigan or somebody.
Yeah. Well, same thing with
them back in their place.
Same thing with Kentucky. Hey, and of course we lost our quarterback for the year. So we've got a backup quarterback in now, and we got to play Florida this week, which Florida's beatable. They don't. Of course, there again, at the end of the year they'll turn it up. So let's see here. Clemson's still number 1. Is Clemson really that good, or? I mean, I know they're good. I know they're good.
Yeah. But you can't tell. Like Alabama, they always say, or Ohio State, or somebody like, wow, they're rolling up the points. Look how they're playing East Tennessee State Academy or something. It's like that's a practice game for them.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is that they pay these schools to come play them at Alabama or at Ohio State. Or I remember when IU was horrible 20, 30 years ago. They go play Nebraska every year, first or second game. And just get the tar beat out of them. But they said Nebraska, they'd always give them like part of the gate or something, and so. The old AD would go home with a fat check in his pocket. He don't care how bad they got beat. Hey guys, you want to see real football, and I'm going to make some money off this? Yeah, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's just hard for me to get excited about college football. Of course I follow, I follow Louisville and Kentucky, and maybe that's the whole problem. But it just isn't there for me. I mean, because I'm already wanting to lean over into basketball. I was wanting to. You were talking. I was wanting to bring up the kid from New Albany for the IU. In the draft. I mean, I can't believe he still went 7th. I think it was Langford Romeo.
Oh yeah, Romeo.
Yeah. And of course there again, I kept singing Carson Edwards' song. I mean, because I think that kid's special.
Yeah.
But they're again, I'm a big Purdue fan, so you know.
Yeah, that Romeo Langford. I think a lot of people, a lot of IU fans, I'm friends with on Facebook, and when he decided to go pro, it was kind of good riddance. I don't think a lot of them were heartbroken. They kind of thought he was a little bit of a prima donna, and he kind of, for being a freshman, that he kind of thought that he's ready to rule the world. And it's like there was a guy in Fort Wayne that played for Purdue a few years back, and he decided to go pro early. He was pretty good. He was good. He won state title in high school, and then he got drafted by San Antonio, and then he ended up in the little leagues or the D League or whatever, and now he's over playing in Greece somewhere. And if he'd stayed in college at Purdue an extra year, he might have gone somewhere. But he was back in town. They interviewed him on the news, and he's in Greece or Turkey or somewhere playing basketball.
Yeah, that's.
And it's like, well, he said his family's taken care of, so that's all he cares about.
Yeah, of course, there again, who really truly has these young men's interest at heart? Because their agent's not going to shoot them straight away. And maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know, but the bottom line is, and I've lived in this old world long enough, and you probably have too. The cut of all and the bottom line on everything is the dollar.
Yeah, like Duke and Kentucky, some of these places, they practically the whole starting five goes pro, and they just reload it with these other kids that are, high school All-Americans, or kind of sat back and watched their first year, and like, okay, now I get to be a star, then I'm going to go pro, and they're not. They're not really trying to stop anybody or trying to say, I'm not going to recruit you if you're going to go pro. That's why they go there, because all five guys who played last year, all went pro. And
exactly.
They think,
Yeah.
okay,
Exactly. Yeah. And you
this is
got
the
all
college
that.
to go to.
I mean, Kentucky is such a big program. I mean, they even have speaking coaches for these guys, so they to handle their interviews well. But any college basketball fan last year had to really. I mean, I thought Purdue absolutely had Virginia beat, and then Virginia come. I mean, Virginia. You talk about some cardiac kids, man. Gee.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was I thought it was the best NCAA tournament I'd seen since, of course, Butler. And that was the best 2 years of my life. Probably was Butler.
Yeah, that was so hard. They went to the final 2 years in a row and still kept coming home empty. It's like, oh, come on.
But man, it was, gosh, I can't even believe they made it the second year.
Because they lost something from the first year. You think, well, okay, that was their one shot, like Indiana State. Indiana State tried to make they made the playoffs after Bird retired, Carl Nixon, those guys like that. But it's just like, that was your one shot at the big time.
Okay, here, real quick, let's see here what we got. The team that moved the most, at least in the top 19 that I'm looking at, I'll have to look at page 2 for the rest of the 6 teams. Let's see. Wisconsin moved up 3 spots from 17 to 14 this week. This is interesting. Michigan was 7th last week, and this week they're 10th, and they're undefeated still. So I don't know. Somebody must have got close to slapping them, I guess. I had all this.
He's kind of crazy, that Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah.
There was a Cubs game where he threw out the first pitch, and he went out there, and he wore cleats and everything. And they asked him, they're talking to him, he's going to sing the 7th inning stretch, and he's always uber intense. He's got those eyes that are just like, he hasn't blinked like in 3 years. And they said, I noticed you wore cleats out there. And he said, yeah. He said he remembered talking to somebody 20 years ago or whatever who said the mound at Wrigley is really slippery, and so that's why I wore my cleats. He said, doesn't everybody? And they said, no, nobody's ever wore cleats. Who threw out the first pitch? And he said, and he had a glove, and he had everything out there, and he just took this so seriously. And it's like, wow. He thought about that, probably practiced it for 4 years, and it's like, God bless him. Well, he just can't beat Ohio State. That's his problem.
Yeah. Was you a little surprised that the Brom kid, or I shouldn't say kid, a coach from Purdue didn't go to Louisville?
Yeah, you always got to decide where you can make your mark. I remember, because like I said, I'm giving my age away. I tell people I work with, they're all like, oh my gosh, it's like, remember, 20 years ago when I was born? I said, yeah, I was 30 at the time, or 39 or something. Oh, like, you're old. But I remember that Matt Doherty played for North Carolina. I think around the time Jordan and all of them did. He had Brad Doherty and Matt Doherty, this guy, and he was assistant coach in North Carolina, bouncing around, and Notre Dame gave him a head coaching job, and he kind of got the fans, the students all fired up. Like, he'd go to their dorms and stuff, and they, weren't